Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking Week 15 in the NFL, going game by game here. Try to see how, bunch of interesting performances this week. And I know, Jeff, you're in a good mood right now. We've talked about our league forever, and it's a 2-week playoff. And you got yourself a pretty good lead after week one. That first championship might be there for you.
I don't know if you can hear the smile on my face, but I'm 1 week away. I don't even know how I could screw this one up. So for my finally well-worth title.
And if it doesn't happen, it's going to be even worse of a loss than you've ever had.
You probably will never hear from me again.
It'll be terrible. Right? I mean, it's just, there's no good that can come from that. So, but we'll see how that goes next week. But it was a good performance in week one. I mean, you have Lamar Jackson. Of course, it's going to be good.
Yeah, it started off great, and it did end a little rough. Dalvin Cook re-injuring that shoulder, finding out if he is going to play next week. But you know what? You can't have all the wins.
Right? I mean, yeah. It's I think your team's good enough to do it. But we'll see. All right, here we go. Let's go game by game. Let's start off Patriots-Bengals. I was actually at that game. So this is 1 week I didn't watch as much as I normally do. I'll say that. So I'm going to be going a little more off box scores this week. Because actually being at a game, you realize, oh crap, I miss a lot of the other games. Can't really see what's going on. So I went to the fun Patriots-Bengals game in Cincinnati where it was 75% Patriots fans. So that was fun. And let's say Patriots side of things, Tom Brady threw two touchdowns, but man, the guy doesn't look very good right now. Only 128 yards. So
I was going to say, this is the one game I did not watch. I was playing their defense, so I just saw that they dominated the game. And it's Bengals. I mean, what do you expect?
Well,
so
they
to be fair, Brady is not going to have to do anything in this game.
They dominated at the end only because it was close first half. I mean, Joe Mixon was running all over these guys.
He has been looking great lately.
He really has.
At first you're kind of worried on a team this bad. Is Mixon going to be completely lost for the season? But another great performance. I mean, 25 carries, 136 yards. He has put together a string of really solid games. I'm very excited to see what he can do next year with you have to believe that they're going to be better in some way.
They should be. And probably with a new quarterback. So they should be probably in pretty good shape. Mixon is just good. He's really good. It's finally coming through and showing through a little bit. Nothing else really here in this game. I mean, Cincinnati didn't do it. The receivers couldn't do anything. Boyd was covered by Gilmore all day. He can't do anything with that. So just you're not using a lot of these players right now. Other than Mixon, you're not using a lot of Patriots. Edelman got shut down.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, who's questionable? You wondered, and that's true because they could have used his help in the first half, like you said. It wasn't a blowout right from the get-go. It was interesting to see, once again, not a whole lot of offense to go around, but N'Keal Harry, they did try to get him more involved, which is very interesting to see, I thought. I mean, they even handed it off to him twice. So it's kind of interesting watching the Patriots go into the postseason because you can almost feel like it's a chessboard where they're kind of moving pieces around, getting things ready. That's what this game, for the replays that I watched, felt like.
Yeah, they didn't need to do anything. So what were they going to do? I mean, I would say one thing I did notice, like they only ended up being 3 catches for James White, but based on the way Brady's throwing and just checking down all the time, it feels like White. I feel like that's going to be the worst of his games there. And he got himself a touchdown. It's almost like, man, you could use him right now. Brady can't throw the ball downfield. It's going to be check down. So, all right, next game. How about the Lions getting another loss? Get themselves closer to the probably number 2 pick, hopefully.
Another NFL jewel.
Here we go. 38-17 Bucks in this one. And Jameis, man, 458 yards, 4 touchdowns. He threw a pick. Couldn't go without throwing a pick. But the guy, he's just tossing the ball around like crazy. And this is without Mike Evans. Chris Godwin went down with an injury, but not before he had 5 for 121. But Brashard Perriman, 5 for 113 and 3 touchdowns. I mean, finally this guy showed up after how many seasons? What, 4th year maybe?
Yeah, I mean, people are writing him off as a bust, including me. I mean, he's never really shown anything. Injury obviously played a huge part in that, but he was drafted by the Ravens. Yeah, I don't know. What did you say, 4 years ago? Something like that?
Yeah, I believe in the first round. And
he was supposed to be. Yeah, he was supposed to be good. So it's nice to see kind of a redemption story, and even more so. I don't know what's going to happen with Godwin, but it doesn't sound too positive. And obviously, you're not going to have Evans back. So Brashard Perriman could be the number 1 wide receiver going into week 16. That is a huge waiver pickup. That is they're going against Houston as well. So that's a great matchup for him. I can't imagine Winston not throwing a lot once again. He's always up and down. But you have to believe that Perriman is one heck of a pickup this late in the season.
Yeah, he has to be my number 1 wide receiver pickup this week. You go pick him up and you put him in your lineup. I feel confident in this, actually. And
I do too.
The last 2 weeks before this, even last week he was 3 for 70, a touchdown. And the week before, even with Evans and Godwin, he was 5 for 87. So this has been coming along. He's just getting into it a little finally. Chance to play, not hurt all year. Maybe this finally showing his potential. So yeah, go pick him up and play him. Then say the running game for Tampa, nothing there. Lions, I mean, you don't even need to talk about anything with the Lions. I mean, Wes Hills randomly gets 2 touchdowns. Never heard of the guy until this week. And Danny Amendola 8 for 102. Galladay only 3 for 44. This team is not trying to win. And
no,
they're just yeah.
It's really bad right now. I do have to bring up this. I heard that Kerryon Johnson actually has a chance to play. It makes no sense to me. What do you make of that? If someone is hurting, say Dalvin Cook went down in their league and they're like, okay, they're, more than likely you would be able to get a backup, right? If Madison's not there, maybe you can get Boone. But if someone is really hurting, is Kerryon even on your radar? Like, do you actually think he is going to play?
It's possible, as much as I think it's a terrible move for the Lions.
Yeah, I think it's god awful. But this would only make sense in Detroit.
That's what I'm saying. Knowing the Lions, I feel like this is likely. And it could be just like a Matt Patricia last ditch effort, trying to save his job, trying to make the team look good kind of thing. Even though I don't think he's going to get fired after this, I hope he doesn't play.
I don't understand the reason why. First of all, I don't want Detroit to win personally because I want to have a better pick. But okay, so say this: it's such a bizarre thing, a bizarre player to have to kind of think about, especially going into one of the final weeks of the playoffs. If you had him, say, and if you actually had a choice between him and, say, you didn't have a lot of money, say you're not going to get Perriman, would you rather start him knowing that he is going to get touches if he plays, or would you rather go with, say, a mid-tier wide receiver? I'm trying to think of someone that would make sense, but I mean, where would you, like, obviously if you had to, like, but no one is going to have to at this point. Like, no one's going to have like one running back left over and they have to start another one. So in a flex position, does this make sense in any way?
I mean, it makes sense, I guess. I don't know, on the road at Denver, I just don't feel any good about it. But I mean, yeah, if your options are limited and he's playing, he's a good player, I guess you'd throw him in there. I don't like it though. There's nothing about this Lions team I like. No, I can't. I mean, I get you can do it though. I hope there's a better option, but there really might not be right now. So yeah, maybe you go play him.
All right. But next up, Chicago and Green Bay. Once again, Chicago. Being Chicago, Green Bay gets the win. I don't know what to say about Trubisky is so up and down, but. Once again, the shining kind of the silver lining for Chicago has got to be their 2 wide receivers. You're talking Robinson, who has been solid all year, and then Anthony Miller really has come on lately. We've been talking about him, and he gets the touchdown, so his numbers look a little bit better than Robinson. But both, Robinson 7 for 125, Anthony Miller 9 for 118 and a touchdown. I What do you say about him? Anthony Miller obviously is another one. I'm trying to think what percentage he's at, but he's going to be another one on people's radar.
Yeah, he's another pickup. He's going to probably be right there after Perriman for me. He's owned in 24.9% of leagues right now. And Anthony Miller, he looked talented last year, but he had the injury at the beginning of the year. And I wonder just how long that lingered. Because all of a sudden, it's like a switch flipped in like week 11 there. And he became a reliable, good player, starting to live up to some potential. Yeah, I'd play Anthony Miller. I think he's going to continue to play. If you need an option for next week, if you just lost Chris Godwin and he's not going to play next week, yeah, go get Anthony Miller too. If you can't get Perriman, Perriman's still be my number one option, but Anthony Miller's probably my number two option right now. Because in Chicago, they only scored 13 points, but they still had to throw the ball 53 times. So they're just going to, they're going to do something. They can't run the ball in Montgomery. So then, yeah, Green Bay side of things, it's, it's a typical story of the year. Rodgers doesn't really do a lot, didn't have to do a lot. But Devontae Adams gets 7 for 103 and touchdown, and Aaron Jones runs 2 of them in despite only 13 for 51. So it's just kind of how Green Bay's doing things this year. They're winning games. They don't have to put up the numbers they used to. But Aaron Jones, 2 touchdowns. It's still a good thing there.
I know. I never thought that if you would tell me that Aaron Rodgers, his normal game was, a little over 200 yards and 1 touchdown, I would never say that they would be anywhere close to 11-3 right now.
No, and that's just it's a different way of playing this year in Green Bay. So how about next up? Houston beats Tennessee 24-21. And Deshaun Watson, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 243 throwing. Hyde had a solid game, 104 yards and a touchdown. He's been solid most part of this year. It's not always wonderful, not always great, but this is one of his better ones. Probably it might be his, I think, second best game on the year. But next week at Tampa is probably a good matchup for Carlos Hyde, I would say. I mean, maybe not. They might get in a shootout with Tampa, and it'll be all throwing the ball. That could be good for DeAndre Hopkins. Another 6 for 119.
Well, I was going to say, it should be a boost to
They'll be scoring.
Hopkins and Fuller.
Yeah, there'll be scoring to be had. We'll see how it all plays out. But, nothing crazy in this one. Titans, Tannehill, another solid 279, 2 touchdowns. He continues to just be, very solid player. Another very good fantasy day, let's say. 28.2 in standard.
Yeah, he was. I mean, once again, he was great.
Got one on the ground too.
I was going to say now he's going to rush one in, but he's great. And the one that everyone is wondering about is AJ Brown. I mean, where is the ceiling for this guy now that Tannehill is under center? He is looking dominant right now, and yeah, I mean, we love the young guy coming out, and we were talking about where does he fall? He's been shooting up ranks lately. But after this many good performances in a row, I mean, where does he?
He's a must
where
start.
does he factor in next week?
He's a must start right now. It feels like. I can't say must start because it's hard to say who's on your team. But with the way things are going, I mean, I don't know how you keep this guy on your bench right now. The way they're playing, and you got New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans, you never know what kind of game that's going to be. I mean, look what they let San Francisco do last week. You just never know. But then. I mean, today they're not letting the Colts do anything. So, which New Orleans team's going to show up, you don't know. But A.J. Brown, yeah, I put it. He's going to be a top 20 guy again for me. Probably, close to top 15. The way this is looking, it's crazy to say.
Yeah, he's been wonderful 3 out of the last 4 games. Very exciting. Him and Tannehill are looking great together. So, definitely a playable guy.
So, then up, what we got? Kansas City, Denver, 23-3. Kansas City wins in the snow. So, I mean, it's hard to really take anything away from a snow game. There's not much to go off. Mahomes looked good, 340, 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce looked good, 11 catches, 142 yards. Tyreek Hill only had 5 for 67, but 2 touchdowns. So, the players you're using did well. That's pretty much all there is to it there for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and Broncos, very little for fantasy, but I think they're an interesting team only because, looking into the future, I mean, it's pretty much what you're doing. Sutton still was able to have a relatively decent fantasy game, 4 catches for 79 yards, but Drew Lock, very difficult to kind of figure out heads or tails a young guy trying to play in those conditions.
Not going to judge him off that.
But not overly bad. I mean, he did no touchdowns and 1 interception, but at the same time, I like what I see from him so far. I think he is going to be an interesting quarterback going into his sophomore year.
Then the Giants beat the Dolphins 36-20, put up a lot of points there. In Eli, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, but you're not using Eli, so don't worry about it. But Barkley, good game for Saquon. Finally, in week 15, lives up to his, draft stock. But most likely, if you drafted him, you're probably not in the playoffs, so it didn't matter. With his 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Sterling Shepard showed up, 9 for 111.
He looked good. I mean, and Slayton caught another touchdown, so it was a good game, but obviously they're going against one of the worst teams in the league.
And then, so on the Miami side, Fitzpatrick throws 2 touchdowns, both to Devontae Parker. Only 4 for 72, but he gets his 2 touchdowns. He just signed a 4-year, $40 million contract. Can you imagine even like 10 weeks ago saying that?
No, I love it. It always happens in the contract year, doesn't it?
I mean, and it's not even like he's been good, but he hasn't been dominant by any stretch of the imagination. But hey, you know what? If you're good on this team, you're doing well if you're showing anything.
And let's be honest, they can't lose any more talent. They don't have enough to go around.
Yeah, it's nice to see from Parker. So it's nice to see something there. And then I say the running game, just the Patrick Laird thing, just don't play him. I mean, come on, people. I keep hearing it like every week he's a pickup and stuff, and he's just not. I'd rather play a lot of other guys. I can't play him. I don't know about you. All right, what do we got next? Eagles, Redskins here.
We got.
All right, Eagles, Redskins.
Yep.
All right, my computer is buffering, so I can't even get to the box score here because I didn't watch much of this game.
We got this was not an interesting one. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a good game. It really was. It went down to the pretty much the final few minutes, and Philadelphia came on top. And actually, they scored a defensive touchdown at the very end, if my memory serves me correctly. So it was a very close game. Philadelphia pulled it out. Carson Wentz looked really good doing it. He looked sharp. It is against Washington. You take it with a grain of salt. But Miles Sanders is the big story on that offensive side of the ball. He is starting to come into his own. I know a lot of people Craig was big on his talent, but obviously it took him kind of to work into the lineup. Ever since Howard went down, they're using him a lot. 19 carries for 122 yards rushing and a touchdown. And also, on the other side of the ball, 6 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown there as well. So
it's a big game.
Miles Sanders was huge, but that'll be interesting to see going forward. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't have him a top 20 back at the least, because it looks like he is taking that role and kind of running with it and being a dual threat guy, which I think is going to be really good for Wentz. Everyone else is kind of the same. I mean, Ertz, 5 for 61 and a touchdown. That's kind of what you expect. Goddard, 5 for 55. Ward, that is an interesting one. Ward Jr., 7 for 61 and a touchdown.
I played him in my DraftKings lineup. So
did you really? Oh, good for you, man. That's a really good pick, actually.
I feel good about that one. So good game for Wentz, but he should have a good game against this Redskins team. And I mean, Redskins. Peterson 66 yards, touchdown, good there. But nice to see Terry McLaurin 5 catches, 130 yards and a touchdown. But that's about all you got here.
Yeah, it was mostly on one. But you know what? I'm not going to take anything away from him. And Haskins is starting to look a little bit better too. It means very little in the scheme of relevancy. But I don't know. That's actually a good question. This upcoming week, how do you feel about Washington, about McLaurin? I don't like playing him, to be honest. Like, I probably wouldn't have told you to play him this week because I don't like the situation they're in. How high, low, where are you thinking McLaurin?
I mean, I'd rather play the waiver wire guys over him, honestly. Like Perriman, I'd play over him. He's probably like on an Anthony Miller level for me. So
he is going against the Giants. Does that change anything?
I just don't like Haskins. He did not get
to play in week 4. He was out, so.
I don't like Haskins. Even though he was a little better, I don't like it. I would play, I don't like trying to think of levels, but Perriman I'd play over him. He'd probably be on the same. Maybe you'd probably play him over like an Anthony Miller on the waiver wire. Be close though. Yep, it's about that level. I don't feel confident in anything with this Redskins team. So Haskins needs to show me more than that before I trust playing any of the guys he's throwing to. So about Seattle wins 30-24 over Carolina. Solid game for Russell Wilson, like as expected. Josh Gordon throws a pick, and it's probably his final NFL game.
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't even laugh. I feel really bad. It's just so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it's just, who knows, that guy. Yeah.
I know. I feel bad for him.
Good game for Chris Carson. 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. Played really well there. Then Tyler Lockett showed back up with 8 for 120 and a touchdown. And Metcalf gets only 2 catches, but one of them's a touchdown. So, hey, all around pretty solid for the skill players there for Seattle that you're relying on. Just overall solid. And then Panthers side of things, McCaffrey just does his thing again. 87 yards on the ground, 88 yards through the air, and he ran in 2 touchdowns. Just really good game for McCaffrey.
It really has. I feel like it's the same stat line for Carolina every time. McCaffrey kills, DJ Moore is good, and Samuel sometimes catches a touchdown. I feel like I could just say that, and I'm right every week.
DJ Moore, again, 8 for 113. He's been very solid. He just doesn't catch many touchdowns. So he's been good. And next week now, looks like Will Grier is going to get the start. No more Kyle Allen next week. We'll see how that goes. They might as well give Grier a shot. Kyle Allen is clearly not the answer here. He's not the answer. So go with somebody else. How about Jacksonville beats Oakland 20-16 in just a very exciting game, right?
Yeah, I do have to say I actually enjoy Minshew being back. I do think that he is I think he's a good young quarterback. I want to see him what he can really do. He gets the start. 200 yards, 2 TDs, gets 27 yards rushing. He does everything you need in order to win. Oakland, decent team. Other than that, though, there wasn't anything too exciting. Chris Conley is the one that caught 2 touchdowns.
Another one of my DraftKings players.
Was it really? I know he's one of, he'll probably be a waiver wire. He'll be on that list. I'm not overly confident on him, but where are you thinking
down there.
Conley?
He's below those other. He's probably below. Well, he's below Perriman. He's a little below Miller. He's probably below Greg Ward for me, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, and that's kind of what I feel too. You hear a lot about him. He had a very good game, don't get me wrong. I shouldn't say very, but he had a good game. Other than that, Fournette, 15 carries for 42 yards. There wasn't a whole lot going.
Yep.
And the Raiders.
Good game for Waller.
Yeah. Waller, Williams catches his traditional 1 touchdown, and Josh Jacobs looked okay coming back. 24 carries, 89 yards. So wasn't anything special.
Yep. How about Cardinals beat up on the Browns 38-24? The Browns are just a mess.
Say, this one made me laugh very hard. Every time they would score, I was just like cackling.
Man.
And especially it was all Drake too.
All Kenyon Drake.
Even more. Oh my God.
Didn't see that coming. 137 yards, 4 touchdowns. My God.
If Drake was the one that helped you secure the playoff win, that is, good for you.
Right. Hey, that's just a good, solid game for Drake. And what makes me more curious about this even than today is like, what happens next year? Is this Kenyon Drake's backfield next year? Is David Johnson going away?
I think that you're a very exciting offense if you draft one more wide receiver. I like where Kyle Murray, how he's developed. He's not there yet, but I think he's coming along really well.
Yeah.
And then if you have a healthy Johnson and a healthy Drake, that's a great tandem running back behind your field. And then you have Kirk, which I like. But other than Kirk, I don't know where that wide receiving core is going to go, but I'm sure you can find one other guy. So I think Arizona will be interesting next year.
Then Cleveland, it's a mess right now, honestly. No one seems to want to be there. Landry didn't do much. Odell 8 for 66, so he had more catches than normal. But Nick Chubb's really, really good.
He is so good.
I'd say that, and Kareem Hunt continues to be playable, especially PPR wise. They're 8 for 62. But it's not.
Why is he catching so many balls? That's my question.
It's not taken away from Nick Chubb though. So
no,
it's working out. Nick Chubb's just really good player, even in this dysfunctional offense. It still works out. How about this one? Minnesota beats up on the Chargers 39-10. Wasn't even a matchup there. Cousins throws a touchdown, 207, so not much for him. And Boone gets himself 2 touchdowns. So remember, all along we've been just preaching, pick up Madison, because you never know when Cook's going to get hurt, and he gets hurt the week that Madison's hurt as well.
I know. I laughed because we kept preaching it, and depending on what happens, you might have to throw all your cash at Boone instead.
You don't know if Madison, what his status is going to be for next week yet, or this week. You don't know yet. So
what a stroke of just hilariously bad luck.
Right?
The thinking was correct.
It's like whoever's in that backfield is going to do well, right? That's pretty much it. And it sucks for Cook owners. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I can't see them playing. It looks like Minnesota should be in the playoffs here, so I can't see them risking it here.
No, I don't know why you would risk it either.
Then Diggs 4 for 76. Thielen's back with only 3 for 27 though. Not really much else there, but it's just gonna wait and see what happens with Madison. What happens with Cook? Who knows? Chargers. I mean, not a great game for them. That's for sure. Rivers feels like it's done. Right.
Okay, I was gonna say the same thing. I was watching him. And he's still putting up yardage, but the way he is throwing into the middle of the field, he is just lofting it up there. He was just asking to be picked off, intercepted 3 times. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's kind of rough to watch this season. So I'm wondering if he has one more year left in him or if he's going to call it quits. But he still spread the ball around pretty decently. Mike Williams finally is starting to look better. Keenan Allen caught a lot of balls, 9 catches for 99 yards, but not a whole lot. I mean, they just couldn't get it going.
No, just not much here. They can't get anything going on the ground. Melvin Gordon's holdout was probably one of the worst holdouts in the history of holdouts.
Yeah, that hurt everyone.
Yep. So not much going on for the Chargers this year. Just a disappointing season. How about Cowboys beating up on the Rams 44-21? I didn't see this coming either.
This has got to be the statement game of the week for me. And I think this says a whole lot about Dallas because even more so, they got back to Elliott, right? They got back to Zeke being the guy. And I loved it too because obviously the Rams just didn't want to tackle anyone because even when Zeke left, Pollard ran all over him. But they didn't even have to throw it. I mean, it was crazy. If you had Amari Cooper, I started Gallup. I thought that it was going to be a pretty good game for these guys, but they didn't have to throw the ball at all.
They just didn't need to do it. I mean,
look at this. The tight end Witten catches 4, then Zeke catches 3. Everyone else was 2 or 1.
Yeah, they just didn't need to do anything, so it's hard. I mean, they just ran all over him. I mean, Zeke with the 117 on 24 carries, 2 touchdowns, and then it's a blowout, so they used Tony Pollard, and he gets 131 off 12 carries. So, man, it was easy for him. As I say, Tony Pollard again. If you're a Zeke owner, you should have had Tony Pollard already, just in case you go to week 17. If you don't go to week 17, it doesn't matter anymore. But
yeah, it doesn't matter.
But he could fill in just as well. So, but Rams side there, I mean, this is just a disappointing season overall for them. And Gurley only 11 carries for 20 yards, but ran one in and he caught one. So,
yep, garbage time too, which is. I'm sure that really angered some people and hoping that he wasn't going to score against you.
It's I don't know what happened to this Rams team, but
no. And look, they'll probably end above 500, but that's not what you're expecting out of them. And I do have to say, the only bright spot, Cooper Kupp did catch a touchdown, but whatever.
Yep.
Higbee looking good.
Solid.
I mean, once again, it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens when. They kind of get full strength at the tight end situation, but I can't imagine Higbee going away. 12 receptions for 111 yards. It's been, 3 weeks in a row that he's been very, very solid.
If you need a tight end, play him next week. I would.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate. He's top 10 guy right now. Easy. If not top 5, the way it's going. How about Falcons beat the 49ers 29-22. They score 2 touchdowns in the last 2 seconds of the game. Basically. Unreal. So, and Matt Ryan throws for 2. One of them there was to Julio, at the very end, but Julio 13 for 134 and 2 touchdowns. Finally, we got ourselves a big Julio game. I think we were just recently talking about how he's done nothing this year. And there he goes. That's what he can do. 13 for 134, 2 touchdowns. Huge game for him. And it's his first game in double digits in standard scoring since week 8.
Well, I mean, we always it was more last year. I shouldn't even say last year because last year was the exact opposite. But we always joke about how he will get a ton of yards, but he will not catch touchdowns. And it's hard to believe that a guy of this caliber, especially against San Fran, you think this would be the game that they don't. But he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 4. So weeks 1 through 3, he started off hot, and we thought, oh, okay, this is going to be, the second half of 2018. And then, man, he just went cold again. But reemerging, obviously, it's not like you're ever taking him out of the lineup anyway, so you didn't have to worry about it. But I'm hoping that he continues or he finishes strong next week against Jacksonville. And then if you do play into week 17 at Tampa Bay, should be a good one.
Then how about the 49ers side here? They didn't do a lot there. They thought they should have got the win, and they just
I was going to say, they thought they had.
They should have won this thing, and just, I don't know, they let the Falcons go down the field and score on them at the end. Just didn't see that coming from them. Mostert gets 14 carries, 54 yards, gets himself a touchdown. So if you did use him, it was solid enough. It wasn't a huge game, but he didn't kill you. But the receivers did. Emmanuel Sanders, if you went and played him after his big week last week, 2 catches for 9 yards. It's like he had all those bad games, blows up last week, and then he's right back to it. 2 for 9. And Debo only 1 for 29. But George Kittle looks great, but that's it. Yeah. It's just Kittle. Kittle got everything.
Finally he had a big game too. 134 yards. I mean, really big game. If you're in PPR too, 13 receptions. I mean, oh my gosh. But looking at the box score especially, I mean, my God, could the wide receivers be any worse? Like the passing game, I mean, they were just letting him check down to Kittle pretty much. No one else had over 29 yards. And that was, 29 to 11 to single digits. So it was pretty ugly throwing the ball with San Fran.
How about the Sunday night game? Buffalo wins 17-10. The Bills are 10-4. They're going to the playoffs. Didn't see that one coming at all. But hey, they're
okay. So I have to eat my words on that one. Especially in preseason, I thought that Buffalo was not going to be a playoff team at all. No, and they have proved me wrong every step of the way. So, hats off to them.
Josh Allen only threw for 139 yards, threw 1 touchdown, but he ran 1 in. So he made it a decent fantasy day. Not great, but decent. His running always helps him out a little bit. Singletary, 21 carries, 87 yards. Solid game. Not overly impressive. And John Brown, 7 for 99. Typical. That's pretty decent John Brown game. Yeah, nothing crazy here. They just get a win. But in a 17-10, you're not really getting much out of it. Either way. Duck Hodges threw 4 picks. Man, can't believe the Steelers are on the verge of possibly can still be a playoff team.
I know. It is.
It's just not much. I don't know. They have nothing going on. No running game. Mind-blowing.
It's just third string quarterback. Yeah. I mean, their first string running back was out pretty much. It felt like the entire season. You don't have Juju anymore. How in the world are you doing this? I mean, I know their defense is good, but I mean, they were only a touchdown away.
Yep.
Could have knocked off Buffalo, and then they would have been 9-5.
Yeah, they still have a good shot at the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. So. I guess the other game is the one it's actually still going on. It's Saints-Colts, 34-7 right now with only like 3 minutes left. So the Saints just looking really good today. And Drew Brees, 4 touchdown passes, which follows up his huge game last week. All of a sudden, Drew Brees has just been a fantasy monster here and looking great. And Michael Thomas is – I think Michael Thomas is going to set the all-time receptions record this year. He's on pace to do that. He has 12 for 128 and a touchdown again. Just ridiculous. And then Alvin Kamara, though, 14 carries, 66 yards, 5 catches, 23. Man, it's still just not there, is it?
No, unfortunately it's not. I don't expect it to change at all. They're winning without overusing Kamara, so maybe they're waiting for the playoffs, but it's good to see him in double digits as far as carries, keeping that up. But I would really love to see, and this game once again they didn't need to. I mean they were blowing Indianapolis out from pretty much from the second quarter on. So, but I would love to see Kamara catch more receptions would be wonderful. I always think that New Orleans, especially when they're playing a closer game, always looks a lot better when they're doing those dump off passes to him. So I think if it's closer, he'll get a lot more, but it's not someone that you could really count on this year. Yeah, he's fine for you, but you have to be pretty disappointed if you drafted him.
Then with the Colts side, there is nothing here at all to talk about. We'll say T.Y. Hilton comes back. He's 4 for 25. Marlon Mack, 11 carries, 19 yards. Just New Orleans it's tough to play at New Orleans on a Monday night. I'd say that. I would have zero confidence in playing Marlon Mack next week though, with how he's played in the 2 games for being back from injury. Even playing against Carolina, I just don't have confidence in it. I know there's some people that don't have a choice. You just got to play him, but I don't like it. So I don't know if you'd feel a little more confident. I can't do it. I don't know who I'd play over him, but man, it's two weeks in a row. He just doesn't look like he can do anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going after Boone or Madison, whoever's healthy, definitely I would rather play one of those guys. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't looked good. There's not a whole lot to say about it, to be honest.
But all right, that will do it for the recap. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do some of your start and sit questions. So if you have any of those, make sure you get those in. Go to Instagram at Fantasy Football Profit. Get our questions in. We'll answer as many as we can, help you with your championship games next week. Talk to you guys then.